This is CBC Vancouver News.
We know what compost smells like. This smells like hot garbage.
Pollution concerns at Cultus Lake, a BC company accused of dropping garbage on a Fraser Valley farm.
There's very good evidence that our vaccines are still providing strong protection from serious illness and death.
Some illnesses on the decline, others on the rise. The latest on COVID, flu, and RSV in our province. And
we deserve the acknowledgement that others get.
Facing the rising sun.
Celebrating Black excellence in BC and the effort to help students find their voices. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle Choussoub. Dan is away tonight. A Fraser Valley Organics company is under fire for unloading piles of business waste on a farm near Cultus Lake. Semi-trucks had been dropping off the material for months before the government ordered the company to stop. As John Hernandez reports, the waste is still there and neighbors are worried about the safety of their water supply.
I think our water is at risk. I think our air shed is at risk.
Darcy Henderson and her neighbors are baffled by what's on the other side of this blue fence.
Behind me is the illegal, unpermitted garbage dump that has been allowed to form at 810 Iverson Road.
The Columbia Valley residents have been dealing with trash blowing into their properties, harsh smells, and even smoke coming from these waste piles on a local farm.
And this does not smell like compost. We know what compost smells like. This smells like hot garbage.
The waste, which from a distance might look like compost, started getting dropped off in the spring. The company behind it, Fraser Valley Organics, said the plan was to process it on site and then apply it to the land.
We've taken all of this out. We were helping this farmer to increase the nutrient values and produce a more fertile crop for his cattle in years ahead.
The only problem, the material is so contaminated with plastic and other garbage that provincial inspectors have since classified it as business waste.
We have to have a foreign material percentage of less than 1, and we were over that.
The Ministry of Environment considers these piles to be illegal waste discharge. The violation can carry a $1 million fine and even jail time. A stop work order has been issued. The piles have been ordered to be covered to prevent runoff, but many are still exposed. Residents now fearing potential contamination to the local watershed.
We have got thousands of truckloads now. Estimates are 1,500 to 2,000 sitting right on top of our aquifer, and that's where we get our drinking water from in Cultus Lake.
The company and the ministry claim risks to the aquifer are minimal. Fraser Valley Organics now has to figure out how to get this waste into compliance. A penalty residents say amounts to a slap on the wrist.
This has turned into a massive industrial waste dump, and it just blows my mind. I wouldn't litter on the street. I'd get fined if I littered on the street.
A waste dump that will likely take many more months to clean up. John Hernandez, CBC News, Cultus Lake.
BC health officials are sounding cautiously optimistic about some respiratory illnesses and concerned about others. While deaths from the flu and COVID have dropped overall, cases of the new Omicron subvariant are rising. Mira Baines has more on the impact to our exhausted healthcare system.
BC's top doctor says 24 new cases of the new COVID subvariant XBB 1.5 have been found here. While it's not the dominant strain in the province, it's spreading quickly in the U.S.
There is no evidence that this subvariant is causing more severe illness, and there's very good evidence that our vaccines are still providing strong protection from serious illness and death.
The BC Centre for Disease Control says data shows an overall decrease in the number of COVID-19 deaths over the past 2 months. 34 people died from the disease in the last week of 2022. About 300 people are hospitalized due to COVID. When it comes to influenza, Henry says cases have dropped across all age groups from the spike in late November. She says the dramatic rise was due to influenza A, which affects more people earlier in the flu season. They're now monitoring for influenza B.
So far, we've not seen a lot of it, but it does tend to happen later in the season, and it tends not to be as severe.
But RSV does remain high. Despite that, officials say they will not be mandating masks, instead urging people to get vaccinated. The province says emergency operations centers have been opened in 20 hospitals and non-urgent surgeries delayed.
Health authorities postponed 190 non-urgent scheduled surgeries.
116 have been cancelled in the Fraser Health region as respiratory illnesses strain health resources. And despite staffing shortages across the system, Henry says they do not plan to allow unvaccinated healthcare staff to return to work. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Chilliwack School District has taken a controversial step, hiring more than 4 dozen uncertified substitute teachers to cover their staffing shortages. The Chilliwack Teachers Association confirms 50 unqualified teachers have been hired since October and said it is the first district in the Lower Mainland to make such a move. According to the school district, uncertified teachers need a bachelor's degree or equivalent and must complete district-mandated training with a certified teacher. One BC Liberal MLA, however, says BC needs to do more to fill the gaps.
And I know it has parents concerned, and it is a concern. We have certification and qualifications of teachers for a reason, because they are specialists in dealing with children and delivering our curriculum, and we need to make sure that we continue to attract teachers who are certified into our system.
The BC Teachers Federation, meanwhile, says other Lower Mainland districts may adopt a similar response to their own teacher shortages. Good news for Lower Mainland travelers looking to head south. Amtrak will add a second daily trip between Vancouver and Seattle, restoring the route to pre-pandemic service. Amtrak restarted the one trip on the Vancouver-Seattle route last September and will add the second daily trip in early March. Pre-pandemic, more than 750,000 annual riders use the service, which connects BC to Washington State and Oregon. A Vancouver Island First Nation is launching a ground survey to look for potential burial sites that predate colonization, and they're buying a Port Alberni school to get the job done. The Hoopa-Chesset First Nation is buying Gill Elementary School from School District 70. Human remains were previously uncovered there when the school expanded years ago. Those remains were returned to the Hoopa-Chesset, and they intend to conduct a survey to see if there are any more.
I grew up as a kid, my elders would be like, don't play after dark, don't disturb it, don't kick that. You know, there was rules to it, and it was just like basically come to school, come home, and you'll be safe.
The ground surveys are unrelated to recent discoveries of burial sites at residential schools across the country. The First Nation says the purchase is about reclaiming ancestral territory. As we told you last week, more Canadians are having to turn to food banks to help with rising costs. Local charities and community groups are doing what they can to fill the gaps, but as Yasmin Gandam tells us, experts say charity is not a long-term solution.
This gives me a workout for the day.
It's almost more food than she can carry, but Michelle Reining and her team at Food Runners know it's just a start. The organization uses app technology to donate surplus food from local businesses to organizations throughout Vancouver.
We're seeing a real need across the city. Over 1 in 10 households are food insecure right now. So we're doing as much as we can.
Today's donation comes from the meal kit delivery service Fresh Prep, which began working with Food Runners just last year.
The less we throw away, the more we have, and the better we use it, the more there is for everyone.
Food Runners is a completely voluntary service that runs on donations. Last year, they donated over 700,000 pounds of food, but a lack of dedicated funding has them running thin.
Economically, as a country, it's not the best time to be fundraising at the moment, right? So, yeah, it's not the easiest right now.
Before Fresh Prep was giving away their produce to organizations like Food Runners, it would end up in waste bins like this one and straight into the landfill.
This food systems researcher tells CBC that while food insecurity typically affects racialized Canadians, the rising cost of inflation means more people are now turning to food banks and other charities for help.
People that go to food banks, many of them actually have multiple jobs. Universities are actually increasingly establishing food banks within their own campus.
Soma says more funding is needed to address the larger systemic issues that contribute to food insecurity. Last summer, Food Banks Canada reported that an estimated 7 million Canadians are eating less food than they would like because they simply can't afford it. For now, organizations like Food Runners will continue trying their best packing up boxes of food, knowing it's more than they alone can carry. Yasmin Kandam, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC snow sport enthusiasts usually have several months to enjoy the slopes, but the recent wet weather has gotten in the way. Rain, snowfall, and avalanche warnings are in effect across the province. A combination of high winds, up to 15 centimeters of snow, and heavy rain in lower elevations are creating dangerous conditions. Cypress, Whistler, Blackcomb, and Sasquatch Mountain Resort have all closed sections of their mountains until conditions improve.
Due to the extreme weather conditions in the Alpine that are affecting these runs, we want to make sure that the public, that our guests at the mountain are as safe as possible and can enjoy the mountain safely and without any concern.
It's a little bit challenging with the rain and the weather that it is right now. It's kind of thick, kind of heavy, a little bit more difficult to stop and cut and everything, but it's still beautiful. I still love it up here.
A little wetter. When you get into the lower area, though, it's kind of slushy. So you're skiing through it, you kind of hit brakes almost.
And when it comes to the backcountry, people are being warned to stay out altogether. The rapid changes to snow on the ground, the freezing and melting cycles, and the varying precipitation can easily cause avalanches, both naturally occurring and human-caused. And officials are warning people that if they are heading into the backcountry, it's crucial to be prepared.
Do you have an avalanche probe? Do you have a shovel? Do you have warm clothes? Because if it took you 7 hours to get where you are, the good chance it's going to take us 7 hours to get there as well.
Vancouver City Council is set to vote next week on recommendations to revitalize Chinatown and the Granville Entertainment District. City staff have noted safety and public drunkenness concerns in both areas. The Chinatown Business Improvement Association says it wants less graffiti and more supports for residents. The new plans could see higher taxes for cleanup and safety improvements. The proposed changes to Granville Street include more diverse attractions to draw visitors of all ages. The report also looked at the number of SROs on Granville Street and could see them replaced. Today, more than 32,000 students and educators from across the province are recognizing Black Excellence Day. As Janella Hamilton reports, the event is a chance for youth to learn more about the contributions and achievements of Black Canadians in BC.
Facing the rising sun.
Musician Kari McClellan was among the guest speakers at the second annual Black Excellence Day, sharing words of empowerment through music,
Ring with the humble,
shedding light on past and present struggles of Black and racialized Canadians.
Here in Canada and in Vancouver, often it can feel invisible for Black people moving through the society.
As a 16-year-old Black Canadian, Luliana Ahaye says it's inspiring to be a part of an initiative that fights for more positive representation of her community and culture in the school curriculum.
We're not a race of people that are traumatized. We're a race of people who have ideas and passions.
Black Excellence Day was created by Vancouver's Ninandotu Society, proclaimed by the province on the Friday before Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday on January 15th. The society partnering with Burnaby School District once again this year to host the first ever in-person event at Burn Creek Community School, while thousands of others from across the province took part online.
This is a day about resilience, empowerment, and finding your voice and celebrating that strength.
Applewhite says Black Excellence Day is part of the school district's commitment to be more inclusive while giving students a platform to find their voice. Students like Kiana Edwards, who says she often faces racism in school from other classmates.
So there's a lot of low-key type of things, like comments and things that are said that sometimes are just not okay.
On this day, we celebrate the contributions of Black communities
It's important for us to come together as a community and just celebrate who we are as our authentic selves.
20 school districts across BC taking part in the event and beyond in Ontario and Nova Scotia.
Let us march on till victory.
Organizers say plans are in the works to recognize Black Excellence Day on a national level. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Burnaby.
Well, when you think of Scandinavian-style rest and relaxation, you likely picture anything but an old steamliner. But one company is trying to change that. Our cameras got a tour of the repurposed marine vessel.
Hi, my name is Nick Van Buren. We're on the top deck of Haven. Downstairs, when you come in, there'll be a reception. There's a very small retail space. You come around the corner into a universal washroom, so guys and girls go in the same one, and then there's individual change stalls. So you change in there. And then when you come out of that, down the back, there's a sauna, some areas that we're going to future build out. There's a couple water features down there, and then you come up to the top deck, and up here we've got 3 saunas. Each one's a little bit different. So we've got a really hot pine sauna. There's a cedar one that's high humidity, a cedar one that's a little bit lower humidity. There's a space that's indoors, so if the weather's bad, you can just relax. And then there's a few cold pools, a few hot tubs, areas to sit outside. So you could be outside today, hanging out outdoors, enjoying a sauna, enjoying the sun and then the view. And if it's raining, you can still be outside year round. So it's just a space to come and enjoy. All the edges are actually garden planters. There's 12 or 15 trees going on the top deck, lots of grasses. We want it to look like a garden. So it's a very unique vessel. There was only 6 of them made in 1943. So World War II, they made them in Tacoma, near Seattle. It has a bow, so it has a very ship-like aesthetic, but there's no propulsion. We are just floating like a barge. Well, the hull is black, the house on it is gray, and then the buildings will be the wood with the greenery. We're gonna do some pattern, a little bit of a light mural on the side, so it'll have that dark aesthetic, but we're gonna liven it up. I think having people come down to the inner harbor to places like Ships Point is a good thing. We've got this great waterfront. It doesn't really get used 6-8 months of the year. You know, if we can use a spot that really right now is just used for private boat mooring, and people can come down and they can patronize us, great. We're bringing some vibrancy to the area, and that's something that's clearly desired. So you'll be able to see the Empress and Parliament and the harbor entrance, and how it can hopefully be a spark that starts that transition to converting the Ships Point parking lot into the Ships Point waterfront park that's been envisioned.
Red lanterns, envelopes, and lots of sweets. A long-running local tradition makes a triumphant return in Richmond. We'll have that story next. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. A new report suggests private telemedicine services in Quebec are rapidly draining resources from the public healthcare system. And the report's authors say the province needs to tighten the rules. Steve Rukavina has more.
The report from l'Institut de Recherche et d'Information Socio-Économique, or IRIS, says use of telemedicine increased dramatically during the pandemic, but not just in the public system. Businesses and insurance companies started hiring private telemedicine providers to do consultations for employees. IRIS says some companies saw their revenues quintuple in the last 2 years. The lead researcher says that comes at a price for the public system.
On a déjà de la difficulté à recruter et à avoir une rétention de personnel dans le secteur public. Si on a des entreprises privées à but lucratif qui viennent recruter le personnel, ben, ça diminue en fait la disponibilité de ce personnel-là pour travailler dans le secteur public.
Not only that, but IRIS says the province is actually subsidizing many of the largest private telemedicine companies through loans and investments worth millions. And a loophole in the regulations for telemedicine allows doctors who work in the public system to do private telemedicine work on the side. IRIS says the loans to private companies should stop and the loophole should be closed. The province says it is closing that loophole. A spokesperson for the health minister responded in an email saying, telemedicine has existed for several years in the private sector, and we've just created a framework with a regulation that came into force January 1st. We have also had several discussions recently with medical federations to maintain and improve access to telehealth in our public network.
I want to go over your results by phone.
But IRIS says there's nothing in the new rules to stop telemedicine companies from recruiting nurses and other health professionals away from the public system, and that the government continues to subsidize the companies that are doing that. Steve Rukavina, CBC News, Montreal.
Aberdeen Centre Mall is welcoming customers back to its annual Lunar New Year celebration. It's a long-running local tradition that was cut back by the pandemic. Today, though, the mall welcomed people back in earnest. Our Liam Britton was there to take it all in.
You can see here we're with one of the vendors here at Aberdeen Mall selling red lanterns, lucky banners, special sweet boxes, and there are many culturally relevant things happening here at the mall over the next 10 days. Dragon and lion dancing, a flower market, lots of fun vendors, and of course, plenty of sweets. Now, festivities will be on here for 10 days. Organizers say it's the largest indoor Lunar New Year event in Metro Vancouver, and it's been running since 1989. But for the past 2 years, the event has more or less been on hold because of the pandemic. Obviously, I don't want to have an in-person event when regulations forbid it. But I spoke to mall manager Tiffany Ho, who says it is great to be back.
We're so excited. The long awaited events, because it's the most popular festival of the year. So then we have the countdown show, and then we'll have the gift fair show here starting today and last for 10 days. And on the New Year Day, we have the lion and the dragon dance celebration.
So just like dragon beer candy, Tiffany says it's a sweet feeling to be back. Liam Britton, CBC News, Richmond.
Here is a live shot of a dark and rainy Georgia street. Johanna will have your full forecast next.
A lot of people have the same resolution this time of year. Get fit, start jogging, lose some weight. Well, there's more to losing weight than just jogging. You have to eat right and you have to shop right. I'm going shopping with Ramona Josephson. She's a nutritionist who has just written a book on a different way to fill your shopping cart.
Carrots are one of the foods in the top 2 bands of Canada's food guide. And these are the ones that we should be eating in the most abundance. So what you want to do is to load up this large part of your cart with all those foods from the top 2 food groups. Here's the carrots.
Carrots are one. That's make a stir fry tonight. Sound like a good idea?
Sounds like a great idea.
So we need probably some green peppers.
Okay.
As well, if you've got a bag for those. And let's see, if I can afford it, I'm going to get maybe 1 red pepper.
Yeah, 1 will be good just for the color.
For some color, yeah. We'll throw that in there. And despite George Bush saying that he doesn't like broccoli, I do like broccoli. And I hear that it's really good for you for a number of reasons. So we'll just throw the broccoli in there. I wanted to do a chicken stir fry tonight. There's many different cuts of chicken here. What about something like these chicken thighs?
Well, chicken is a great idea, but the cut that you choose makes a big difference to your fat budget. This has got skin, and the thigh is not your best cut. Try chicken breast without the skin.
This is Jasmine Halal Meats and Deli on Main Street in Vancouver.
Ramadan Mubarak. Bye-bye. Have you been helped?
Many Middle Eastern Muslims buy their meats, nuts, and dried foods here. They also shop here for foods used to break their daily fast during Ramadan, the holiest month of the Islamic calendar. Deli owner Musa Mahaila says fasting is a universal way of focusing your inner self.
All the religion, whether Christianity, Judaism, all of them emphasize on fasting because it purifies the soul. It's purified. The same as we managing our outside body. So we need to take a look our deep inside our soul.
Musa, you're from Lebanon originally, and you've got some Lebanese foods here you use to break the fast as well.
Yes, today I brought some variety of food. Tabbouleh is very well known, and you know what's made of?
Parsley and tomatoes and lemon.
Okay, this is grape leaves. It's made out of grape leaves, onion, and rice and tomatoes. This is a spinach pie. Spinach pie, you ate from it last year. It is made out of spinach, onion, and
lemon juice.
Lemon juice.
Yeah, very tasty.
And this is meat pie. It is made out of tomato, onion, and meat.
And this is a dessert?
And this is a dessert, kataif you call. It's a cream. The sheet is like a pancake sheet, and it is a cream and pistachio, and will be a
syrup on top.
Sugar syrup on top.
How long does Ramadan last until?
Until January 28th.
Okay, happy Ramadan.
Thank you very much.
And that's Pacific Palate for this week.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Ring in the Year of the Rabbit with CBC Vancouver at the annual Chinatown Spring Festival Parade on Sunday, January 22nd. Join us along the parade route and celebrate the Lunar New Year with fun and festivities for the whole family. Enjoy traditional lion and dragon dances, marching bands, and martial arts performances. Learn more at cbc.ca/BC.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace, installing the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
And senior meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe joins us now for a look at the forecast. Joe, it's January, it's Vancouver, it's raining, but it is the weekend, so...
Yes, there's a silver lining there. And Michelle, I'm very excited. We don't have many sunny breaks in the long-range forecast, but I think I found one to line up with Saturday afternoon. So we do have a break coming up this weekend, but you're right, lots more rain. I actually wanted to start off with the snowpack summary across the province. I know we've been talking a lot about avalanche risk and local snow mountains, but take a look at the January 10th snowpack summary. So this is a couple days ago, but anywhere where you see sort of browns, that's where our snowpack is below seasonal. So in part of the Lower Thompson, the Okanagan, we are at or well above seasonal. But for the South Coast, the island, that's 60 to 70% of our seasonal snowpack for this time of the year. So you can think about it another way, we are 30 to 40% below seasonal. And that is surprising given we had such a good start to the season with all that La Nina snow. I don't think we're done with the snow yet, but certainly not getting any this weekend. We're still seeing the tail end of that atmospheric river, maybe picking up another 10 to 20 millimeters through the overnight. We're finally starting to see those bullseyes ease. And by Saturday afternoon, I do think we'll see some sunshine across the South Coast. So here's that last low that gets pushed in, not for Saturday, but for Sunday. The center of a new low pressure system will move in. This one may bring some coastal snow, likely up towards the alpine levels, but this is definitely going to bring the rain back for Sunday. Bit of a break right across the province tomorrow. We'll see some sunshine in Williams Lake, Kelowna. You could be pleasantly surprised by a few rays, and Prince George, Fort St. John, soggy to start. But I do think you'll see some sun towards the back end of Saturday. So I've got some breaks in here. They're far and few between after our Saturday. Sunday is a bit of a washout. Might see some sun on Monday, but Michelle, I count about 3 or 4 systems we have to get through in the long range. Notice temperatures do cool down a bit, not snow level, but that's why I'm not ruling it out yet in the long range.
Okay, Saturday afternoon, the time to get your outdoor activities in.
That's our day.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
And that is your late news for Friday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For news anytime, visit cbc.ca/BC. Your next local newscast is on Radio 1 tomorrow morning at 6:30. Good night.